All right, so we're going to continue along the history of animal behavior, and there are really three foundations that animal behavior study was built on: medical anatomy and physiology, evolution, and human psychology. So this video will center on the medical anatomy and physiology. And we're going to give you several people. I don't want you worrying about dates. Not important. I would like you to associate the names with what they did. So Andreas Vesalius wrote a book, and you can see that I'm not going to pretend to pronounce the Latin, but it's on the fabric of the human body in 7 books. So he wrote 7 different books on this, and he is actually the father of modern human anatomy. So he is one of the first people to put this into books. So we're looking at structure that we'll talk about, neurostructure, brain structure, things like that. The next one is Constanzo Varolio, and he actually looked at the brain different than most other people. Everybody would start with the cerebrum and kind of dissect their way down, trying to get parts. He actually worked from the bottom up, and he's known for working on the hindbrain, the pons, and which is also associated with the medulla oblongata we'll talk about. And he was known for working out the cranial nerves, the nerves of the brain, coming off the brain. The next one is Arcangelo Piccolomini, something like that. I haven't heard his name. He was actually a personal physician of several different popes. But one he is known for is differentiating white matter and gray matter. We'll talk about the structure of the brain, and actually parts of it have white matter actually are axons that have a sheath on them. And we'll talk about the importance of that sheath on sending signals. The next one is Rene Descartes, and you might know him. He is actually a philosopher. He is famous for the statement, "I think, therefore I am." But he also was a scientist, and he worked on the pineal gland. He believed that was kind of the link between body and soul. Again, it's down there by the pons, which is the base of the brain. The reality is the pineal gland is actually associated with our internal clocks. We know now. Another one is Thomas Willis. And he was actually wrote about epilepsy and convulsive disorders. And he did a lot of research on brain, nervous system, muscles, and how they interacted with each other. And also famous for the circle of Willis, which I believe arteries that are feeding the brain, but in medical school, that is one of those, circle of Willis is one of those things that you have to memorize. I've seen that. I think it was in a series on House or something, or one of the medical school, maybe ER, I don't remember, one of those programs we're talking about. Raymond, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Vucens, something like that. Early work on neuroanatomy, and also did a heart anatomy. So this was a person very meticulous on kind of mapping out all the different parts. The next guy is Antonio Paciniani, and he studied dura mater, which is the thick membrane around. You can see it down here in the picture, one of the 3 layers, and that's actually for protecting the brain and spinal cord. So these are, what you're noticing is really not so much behavior, but more kind of the anatomy involved that will lead to behavior. Leeuwenhoek is actually known for microscopes. He's the father of microbiology, but he also did cross sections of nerves to look at the actual structures of nerve fibers. The next one is Charles Bell, and he actually was looking at the ventral and dorsal roots of the brain, and he was the one to identify there are different types of neurons, sensory neurons and motor neurons, which we will talk about. And then Parkinson, you probably have heard of his name before. And he was one of the first ones to actually describe the disease, and that's the disease where you lose body control, and the people actually are known to basically shake. And so people that have Parkinson's, I guess famous ones is Fox, Michael J. Fox, and then also Robin Williams actually had Parkinson's before his death. And then the next one is Dubois Raymond. He invented the nerve galvanometer and described nerve action potential and how the nervous system actually sends signals. And so we will spend time looking at that. But he looked at a way of measuring those, and some of the first measurements were done on squid neurons because they are extremely large. And then the last one on this section is Paul Broca, and he is known for Broca's area, which is associated with speech production. He studied people who had brain injury to this area and how that affects their speech. So these are just some of the people. These are not all by any means. And so I do want you to know all these people and their contributions. So I will stop the share and stop the recording.